because we were wrapped up in those thoughts, in that rumination, in that negative thinking. But if we can neutralize that and bring more positivity then, and allow those faculties that we have within of awareness, of perception, of intuition, they are universal divine qualities that we have naturally within that we just need to bring to the surface. And that's why meditation is such a perfect tool, because it helps you do that.
You mentioned about missing something, and I've heard you mention lost a couple times. And in the very beginning, you talked about man being lost, and more so today. Why are we lost?
The world doesn't really support us in a spiritual, holistic way.
Explain.
For instance, there's no education, or like what I've spoken about is like the strength is within. How do you find that strength within? How do you overcome those challenges? And do you understand why they're in your life? There is really ignorance. Like people say, oh my God, this happened to me. Why did this happen to me? Everything, every single thing that happens to us is a learning, is an experience. And if we can enrich ourselves in accepting that and seeing what we can learn from that experience, we enrich our lives, for sure. Because divinity, we're never punished. I really believe God is not only omnipresent, omnipotent, all the omnis, but God is forgiving, that even if we've done bad things, we will be given opportunities to right that, so we can talk a little bit about karma. What is our life plan? Our life plan contains two things, what we call karma and dharma in the Eastern philosophical sense, that we have certain blueprint in our life. We need to go through these certain experiences, but we also have a duty to ourselves to help us along that path and to achieve whatever we want to achieve. Whether that's supporting our family, becoming a great writer, the world is ours to explore, to experience. Man is very lost because he also spends a lot of time in his head. Now, one important fact is that 45% of the time, and these are medical facts that you can Google and look up, around that time, we are involved in tasks. And therefore, we're in actions, we're doing things, we're writing, we're working.
So 45% of the time, we're busy doing something.
Yeah. The other 55% of the time, we're in our head. We're ruminating. We're talking to ourselves. We all do it. We all do it. The mind is our busiest piece of machinery that actually never, ever sleeps. But we forget that mind is a reflection or just a piece of the universal mind. So within our mind, we have the universal mind. Going back to my stanza that we're universal beings, we just don't realize that. So in those periods where we're ruminating, generally speaking, depending on the stability of the person, the amount of insecurity, the amount of experiences they've had in life, that rumination often becomes negative. Like, I don't like myself. I wish I was better. I wish I was prettier. I'm too fat. I'm too thin, etc. And we're spending time in there, and that can often be negative. And therefore, it becomes a bit like a vicious circle. We can't get out of that feeling of being not as we want to be. We feel discontent, and that obviously are the first stages of depression. So when we cannot get out of that circle, then we go down. And when our self-esteem is depressed, we are depressed. That is the first stages of depression, which I'm so glad to say that meditation can alleviate. very quickly and very effectively. But we want to try and catch people before they get to that point that their life becomes a desperation. Their self-esteem is then flattened and they have that depressive state. So if we can bring more positivity into that rumination, and of course, one of the other great things that is awakened when we meditate is intuitiveness, perceptiveness, and awareness. So when we bring those qualities into the mind, and we have a greater of those aspects, then we're able to look at ourselves much more clearly, to see ourselves. Why am I being negative? Why do I need to even think that? And we have the strength to correct that and take a new attitude or a new position, etc., in our lives. So meditation begins to neutralize, and that's one of the most wonderful things it does. Because remember that rumination is not only from different parts of the subconscious, it's obviously coming from deeper and deeper areas that model our personality. So if we can then have more positivity, we have more awareness, we have more perceptiveness, and we know ourselves, everything starts to change for the better.
So you gave a stat, 45, 55, and you talk about being 45% we're busy, you're doing tasks, 55%, in a sense, we're in our own head, right? And instantly I'm like, oh my goodness, this is something. And once again, whether it's related, non-related, it's interesting the timing of this, because most recently I started listening to an audible book called The Untethered Soul. And it starts talking about that once again, all of that, like our own thoughts, how we're talking to ourselves, right? Like all these things that are going on, right? Like, and you don't really think about it, but we are. It's constantly having conversations with myself, and whether it be a positive or negative. And, we're kind of in our own headspace or in our own head, and a lot of times, and we can be our worst enemy in a sense, right? We talk about how we're hard on ourselves. It's just so easy to be hard on ourselves. I know that I'm as trained as parent as I can be here. I know that I suffer a lot of that, a lot of those things. I'm very hard on myself. I'm my own worst critic. And I seem to practice that way too frequently. So how does one break that cycle? Right? We talked about, because we said it's a form of depression, or that leads into depression. And we talk about, in quite a few of our episodes here, we talk about mental health, right? Because that's a huge part of our lives. And I think we need to have more exposure to that, right? Because unfortunately, we see that people suffer from mental health issues, and whether they're ashamed of it, or they don't get the help, or people don't realize it's going on. I've lost quite a few individuals in my life, be it friends, relatives, acquaintances, to whether to suicide or self-destructive habits, right? That led to early demise. How does one?
And God, we don't want that, do we?
No, not at all.
Life is a gift. Is the most incredible gift. We want to live it in fullness, but to do that, we have to live it in awareness.
Okay.
So, as I said earlier, if through meditation we begin to neutralize that rumination, which always tends to err on the negative side, and then when we have greater self-awareness, we have more intuitiveness, we know what to do, and we begin to stop thinking negatively. Okay. And then we think, why am I being so negative? And then suddenly we didn't realize how negative we were. But then suddenly, through this raised consciousness of self-awareness, we started saying, oh, God, I didn't realize how I was negative. Even if someone's telling you, oh my God, you're so negative, it's like, did we realize that? No, because we were wrapped up in those thoughts, in that rumination, in that negative thinking. But if we can neutralize that and bring more positivity then, and allow those faculties that we have within of awareness, of perception, of intuition, they are universal divine qualities that we have naturally within that we just need to bring to the surface. And that's why meditation is such a perfect tool, because it helps you do that.
What makes FISU meditation different from any other forms of meditation?
Okay. I think the most important thing is that we give individually. So practices are given depending on the person. So the course is very similar, but fundamentally we use a mantra, which is a string of words or syllables that we repeat in meditation. Now, in most other systems, these are what's called bija mantras. They're considered to be primal sounds that were there when the universe was created. And yes, they have some significant emphasis, but it's not your sound. What is your unique vibration? So if we were to condense you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually into a sound, into a vibration, because of our uniqueness, which we have found through neuroplasticity, which our fingerprint confirms, the iris in our eye, and our DNA, they all confirm that even though you and I are related as the brotherhood of man, we are totally unique. Because that neuroplasticity, which gives us the ability to adapt to new situations, has been such a profound part of our survival system. And therefore, we have found that individuality. Now, our path is to go from individuality to universality. But to do that, we need to use your unique vibration. So we need to condense you. So if you come to learn in FISU, you'll be asked to supply a photograph without glasses or contact lenses of your eyes. Because one of my countrymen, who you will know very well, Sir William Shakespeare, has said, the eyes are the windows of the soul. Okay? And this is very true. When we communicate, we look into people's eyes, don't we? We get those feelings of trust, of love. We're not looking at their big toe. We're looking in their eyes.
True.
And that's how we communicate. So the windows are really they are definitely the windows of the soul. So I meditate on that person, on their photograph, and I perceive their subtle vibration that they emanate, okay, which is a condensed, subtle version. I would write that in word or syllable form, and that would formulate your own personal mantra. So, in fact, you're not using an artificial tool, and this is what makes our system so very different. You are using your own vibration to grow yourself, so to speak, to unfold yourself, because the essence of that vibration is divine, it is universal, but the personal mantra helps you draw very effectively on that divine universal level. And as we said, bring those energies to a higher level that we can use them in our daily life to better ourselves and better those around us. So that's how we're really, really unique. My guru trained me for this. This was his system that he created. And of course, for me, I'm when we say guru, spiritual teacher or guru, it's a wonderful word. It's two syllables, gu and ru. And they're Sanskrit words, and gu means darkness and ru means light. So guru is just someone who leads you from the darkness to the light.
Simple enough, but that's
through my own realizations, and reaching that enlightened level, I can have these abilities to perceive those subtle vibrations, and not only perceive them, but give them a boost, give them force, and awaken that force in you. And that's the key. Once you are spiritually awakened, everything changes in your life. Okay? So when we're practicing regularly, but then, we start off with a simple technique, then we go to the more advanced techniques with the personal mantra so that you're prepared in that journey. And then this takes you to completely new levels of self-discovery, of spirituality, of consciousness.
Hi, I'm Mark Thomas, founder and CEO of Current Tech Solutions and Cyber Guardians. We know business owners like you want to focus on growing your company, not worrying about IT problems or security threats. That's where we come in. Our team uses AI to protect your business from cyber risks and keep everything running smoothly. If you're ready for peace of mind and a stronger future, reach out to us today. Let's secure and elevate your business together.